Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Shine Through Darkness. So here is a couple prison stories. Here are a couple prison stories that you guys have probably never heard of. Now, this happened way back in the day, and I was actually in prison when all of this happened, so we had to go on lockdown. And the stories that we were getting from the COs, it was comical. So we're going to go through this. I want to read this to you guys. You guys have probably never heard about this, but there's more information than what these people are letting out. So this was updated January 6th, 2011, but it actually happened in August of 1999. So, Mendenhall, Pennsylvania, killer Norman Johnston was brazen in his escape from a maximum security prison, flaunting his freedom at authorities as he surfaced repeatedly near old haunts and hot-wired vehicles to move about, just as he did more than 20 years ago when he ran a multi-state car theft ring. Have you guys ever heard about this guy? Because they made a movie about this guy, about his crimes. But Johnston's boldness cost him his freedom Friday when he stepped in front of state troopers investigating a worried couple's 911 call about suspicious noises outside their home. The capture ended 19 days of freedom and an intensive manhunt that ran authorities ragged in southeastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. And don't forget about West Virginia and Ohio. They must have forgotten about them. I think he was kind of surprised to see us, said Trooper Brian Barber. He was tired. He knew it was daylight. He knew he didn't have any place left to run. Looking scruffy, wet, and tired, the unarmed Johnston was taken into custody about 5:45 a.m. without incident. The arrest came after several near captures when authorities had the 6'1", 180-pound Johnston in their grasp, only to lose him. Several times this dude outsmarted them. We heard how slippery this guy was, Trooper John Malone said. He didn't resist. Since Johnston, 48, cut his way through a cell window and two fences to escape August 2nd from the State Correctional Institution at Huntington, Pennsylvania, authorities had spent hundreds of man-hours on his trail. The fugitive had left behind an elaborate dummy that gave him as much as a 10-hour head start. They failed to mention a female security guard actually helped him escape. So I don't know why they said he cut through the windows and all that stuff, because a female guard literally helped him escape. It's common knowledge in the prison. We all knew that. At times, he seemed to be taunting police as he kept surfacing in stolen cars in southeastern Pennsylvania and nearby border towns in Maryland and Delaware. Two park rangers wrestled with him 4 days after his escape in Nottingham County Park, but he was able to get away. On Monday night, he was spotted by an unarmed University of Delaware security officer who was unable to hold on to him. More than 100 officers, assisted by helicopters and tracking dogs, had spent early Friday morning looking for Johnston in southeastern Chester County. He crashed a stolen car about 11:30 p.m. Thursday, following a brief high-speed chase, and fled into the woods. About 5-ish hours later, Rick Mercurio and his fiancée, Ellen Baldo, called police when they heard a noise from the deck on the back of their secluded home. As police searched behind the house, the pair spotted Johnston as he emerged from some trees and walked down their gravel driveway. Rick recognized him and yelled out to the officers that were closest to us. "There he is. There's Norman," Baldo said. It startled Norman, because I don't think he was anticipating seeing us. Johnston attempted to bolt through a gap in some bushes, but slammed into a dark wooden fence. He began yelling, "I'm not armed. I'm not armed," as determined troopers grabbed him. "We couldn't believe it was him," said Trooper Glenn Blue, one of 3 officers who found Johnston. "All the fighting we heard he did, he pretty much gave up. He didn't put up a fight. and we were very happy about that. The capture was good news for prison officials who came under scrutiny when Johnston's escape was followed 2 weeks later by another killer and an arsonist who broke out of the medium security state correctional institution at Dallas, Pennsylvania, and yes, they were also helped by a female guard to escape. Those dudes bought $50-some worth of Slim Jims. They were recaptured Thursday night just a few miles from the Luzurne County Prison, which is where I was at, also without incident. There was an incident. I'm going to tell you guys the story of those two guys. Does it say their names? Okay, it doesn't say their names yet. As gratified as we are that these three very dangerous men are back in jail, the fact is they did get out, said Governor Tom Ridge, who ordered a 72-hour lockdown of the state's 24 prisons Monday in a review by experts of Pennsylvania's correction system. We need to find out exactly how that happened so we can make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay, so it wasn't a 72-hour lockdown. We were locked down the entire time these guys were out. As a matter of fact, the day that they caught Johnston, I was on the top tier of the block, and the first tier was able to go out. They had day room for an hour, and then when they got to my tier, we got down the steps, and then we were ordered to come back up in because there's been another prison escape. That's when the other two dudes walked out of the prison with the help of a guard. That's how this always happens, guys. It always happens like this, and these newspapers, they never state that they were helped by a guard. They were literally walked out of that place by a freaking guard. Johnston was convicted in 1980 of killing 4 teenagers to cover up a burglary ring that operated for nearly 20 years in the same Chester County hills and woods where he was captured Friday. Actually, it was his entire family. Those 4 teenagers were just the start. He killed his entire family. As he was led out of the Avondale State Police Barracks Friday morning to be taken to the prison in Huntington County, Johnston shook his head and refused to answer reporters' questions. After being arraigned at the Huntington prison, Johnston was transferred to a state prison in Camp Hill. State Police Captain Henry Oleanazik said troopers questioned him about why he stayed in the area. I know why he stayed in the area, and I knew it. I knew from the door. He said it was hard for him to get out of the area. He felt like the heat was on and he couldn't get out of the area. We asked him, was it worth it? And he said, not for 20 days. Okay, so I think that's the end of it. Okay, so what happened with Norman Johnston? They don't say the other two dudes' names. Okay, Norman Johnston, he was running this crime ring, and he in the movie, like I said, there's a movie about this, and we actually saw the movie the day or the day after he escaped. So I watched the movie, and it gave all details. Gave you all the details you ever needed to know on why he escaped. Okay, so here's how it went down. I watched the movie, and then the whole thing was there was a whole bunch of money that the government could not find that Johnston had. Johnston had tons of money, okay? He buried it. Nobody knew where he buried it at. And he had been in prison since the early 80s. And this was in 1999. So he was in prison for about, 18, 20 years, something like that. About 17, 18 years. And he escapes. So why would he escape? Nobody could figure out why this dude escaped all of a sudden. So anyways, he did have a guard help him out, which he, from what we hear, and prison information is way more reliable than news and media information, especially way more reliable than social media information. So he promised the CO like $100,000. So the CO let him out. And the whole thing was the reason why he escaped, because I watched the movie, and then I don't know why, but I picked up a newspaper, or there was like whatever it was for reading or something, whatever it was. I don't know why I got the newspaper, but I was reading the newspaper, and in that county that he was in, let's see if we can find it again. I forget what county they said. Chester County. So in Chester County, there was a new Walmart being built, groundbreaking. I mean, it was talked about. A brand new Walmart's coming in. They're going to be breaking ground pretty soon. And then the dude escapes. And I'm like, wait a minute. So the feds can't find this dude's money. He just escaped. Why would he escape? Because they're about to find his money. And everybody was saying, nah, dude, that ain't it. I'm like, this dude's doing life, bro. Once he gets that money, he's out. He's gone. So they caught him, and I don't think it was the way that they said it happened here, because I heard differently. I heard that they got him at a gas station because he couldn't figure out how to work the gas pumps. Now, it might seem strange to you and me that in 1999, this dude couldn't figure out how to work a gas pump, but you got to remember, he hadn't worked a gas pump since 1980. They were way different in the 80s than what they are today. In the 80s, you could walk up, flip the handle, and pump gas into your car without telling anybody you're pumping gas into your car. And you can actually steal the gas. You can just drive off. That's why they had a lot of self-serve places. Now that they went, or full-service places, now that they went to self-serve, they have it all electronic, where they have to turn the pump on. See, back in the day, it was just flipping a switch where you pull the gas pump handle out, and then you flip the little switch up. There's a little lever, and it blocks you from putting the handle back into the handle spot. So that's how easy it was to get gas back in the day. Now you got to go inside and pay, prepay, use a credit card, debit card, whatever. So that's how the dude got caught. Now, when Walmart was breaking ground, guess what they found? Hundreds of thousands of dollars buried on that land. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. The money the feds were looking for and could not find. The money that Norman was trying to get, but the cops were everywhere. And dude, he had them running around like they was clowns in a circus. For real. They was clowns in a circus. Okay, now, since you know the story about Norman Johnston, that's the real story of Norman Johnston. Let's talk about these other two dudes, okay, that broke out of the State Correctional Institution at Dallas. I can't remember their names. One dude had 50 years, the other dude had 30 years. And I know it says that followed 2 weeks later by another killer and an arsonist. Well, the killer only got 50 years. The arsonist got 30 years. And they also talked a female guard into letting them walk out of the prison. Now, this is at a time where, I don't know if you guys know it, but in Pennsylvania, female guards in a male prison became no-go. No-go. We had female guards at the Luzurne County Prison, or not the Luzurne County Prison, I was at the state prison. We had female guards there, and then we did it. Once all this stuff happened, we did it. And there was so much stuff going on in our prison that we actually know that, we know. COs are easily bought off. Easily. Because they don't make a lot of money. So you can buy a CO off real easy. Even with the promise of money, you can buy them off. Okay, so these two dudes escaped. And there was a manhunt. Now, let me remind you, they just caught Norman Johnston early in the morning. And then by like noon, there was another prison escape. These two dudes ran. They stole some cars. They were running, and the police were out. They were looking for them. Could not find these dudes anywhere. Couldn't find them anywhere. Day 10. I don't know if you guys know this, but they only have a manhunt for the first 10 days. If they don't find you in the first 10 days, they kind of give up. So what they did was they put this manhunt headquarters, the state trooper FBI headquarters, in a parking lot of a grocery store. And for 10 days, they sat in the parking lot of this grocery store, and they did all the communications and did everything there. That was their base. Day 10, they pack everything up and leave. Later that night, these two dudes that were literally camping behind that grocery store, the feds are sitting in the freaking parking lot. The two escaped inmates are in the back of the store camping out, eating out of the dumpster. They're camping in the back of the freaking store. And they watched the freaking feds and the state police and the Department of Corrections have all of their activity in the front parking lot. They're watching them. And these idiots can't figure out these two dudes are right there watching them. But they can't find them nowhere. Later that night, they have this brilliant idea. They're going to carjack the last person coming out of that store. And they're going to just take their car and they're going to go. Well, it happened to be a 77-year-old grandma. A frail grandma, maybe like 130 pounds soaking wet. And they attempted to steal grandma's truck. And grandma whooped the ever-loving bejeepers out of those two escaped inmates. She whooped them up, bro. And a 77-year-old grandma captured two escaped convicts that the feds, the state police, and the Department of Corrections could not even locate. She's the one that caught them. The police didn't catch them. The feds didn't catch them. The Department of Corrections didn't catch them. A 77-year-old woman caught them. Huh. Dude, we was cheering on Grandma. Oh man, we were cheering on Grandma. Everybody in my prison adopted that woman as their grandmother. Every single inmate. We had nothing but respect for that lady. Nothing but respect. Nothing but love. Man, 10 days. Two escaped inmates are sitting out behind a grocery store. And the feds are sitting in the parking lot. Not even 100 yards from them for 10 days. The inmates, when they were questioned, they said, well, why didn't you guys go anywhere else? I mean, the feds were right there. They said, yeah, we know. We couldn't go nowhere else. They were looking everywhere else for us. They weren't looking at the store. They weren't looking where we were at. So why should we go? Once they left, the feds left, the state police left, the local police left, the Department of Corrections left. Dude, how many cops did they say they had? More than 100 officers. And they all came over to Luzurne County, and they were all there. Over 100 cops never looked behind the grocery store. They couldn't find these dudes. They had no clue where they were at. They had no clue until they got their butts whooped by a 77-year-old woman. Props to Grandma. Dude, she was feisty, man. She was feisty. Hitting them with their purse and everything, dude. She was feisty. She captured 2 inmates. One was a killer. One was an arsonist. And Grandma brought them to justice. Not the feds. Not the state police. Not the local police. Not the Department of Corrections. But they don't make any mention of that. Just like they said that they got this dude, they captured him in someone's backyard. Dude, reports on that day from the COs that were there said, because they were bragging about it. This stupid idiot, he's so dumb, he didn't know how to work a gas pump. It's unreal. Well, how long did it take you guys to catch him, though? 20 days? 3 weeks it took you to catch him. And he didn't know how to operate a gas pump, but he sure as hell knew how to hotwire a car. Oh my goodness, they got him on chance. Now, should I tell you about the prison break a year before that, where 8 inmates escaped out of Western State Penitentiary by digging a tunnel through the freaking kitchen? Through a wall in the kitchen. 8 inmates dug a tunnel out of Western State Penitentiary through the kitchen. Not in their cells where they could hide it, in the freaking kitchen. And they escaped. 2 inmates went south. 6 inmates went to a hotel and partied. Partied so much that the hotel called the police for noise disturbance. These people are being way too loud. And the police show up. And guess what? Here's the 6 inmates they're looking for. And then those inmates told on the other 2 inmates. So they got them down in West Virginia. Yeah. If you're going to escape, do it the way Norman Johnston did. Do it by yourself. That way if you get caught, it's only on you. I don't know, man. But there's 3 prison escapes in 2 years. The first 8 were not even paid attention to. They was digging a hole through a freaking wall in the kitchen. And they had it covered up by a poster. You know, one of them FDA food regulation poster thingies? Yeah. These people aren't bright, man. COs are not bright at all. Cops are not bright at all. They're not intelligent. They're the yes men of the world. But here it is. I had to give you guys a little bit of info on these prison escapes that happened years ago. And that these people, they don't even give you the correct information on it. They don't want you to know that the COs are just as corrupt as any inmate in there. They're just as guilty as the inmates sitting in there. And I know inmates that were in there without ever being charged with a crime, dude. I know when I got to the prison, they kept asking me, do you know what you're charged with? You know why you're here? I'm like, no, do you? Oh, we'll get back to you. Well, I just got to check your file. I was just wondering if you knew. They didn't know what I was in there for because I was never charged with anything. I was just sentenced to 2.5 to 5 years in the state penitentiary of Pennsylvania. It's a for-profit prison system. They got to keep it full. And I also know a dude that was in Luzurne County Prison, Hunlock Creek. SCI retreat, who was 2 years over his max. In the state of Pennsylvania, the Department of Corrections killed him. They murdered him and threw him out in the cold. And then when the news report came on, he froze to death, waiting for the bus. There should have been an investigation into the Department of Corrections, but there was no investigation at all. Why? Because Pennsylvania murdered an inmate, because that inmate was suing the state of Pennsylvania for Pennsylvania holding him 2 years after he maxed out. So this dude served all his time, and the state of Pennsylvania, the Department of Corrections, never released that dude until they killed him. He was going to sue them for millions. The state of Pennsylvania was going to owe that dude millions, like a couple $100 million, because of everything they were doing to him. And they did so much to him that they murdered him. You guys never heard about that, did you? It was on a 30-second news clip on the 6 a.m. news. And I know this to be true because from what I believe, the dude that murdered him came to my cell, woke me up, got me out of my cell, and said, "Watch this." And he had the remote for the TV in his hand, and he turned the TV on, and not even 2 minutes later, that news thing came up where that inmate was dead. And I literally watched that CO take that guy from his cell on Friday. And here it is, 6 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, and he's already frozen to death at the bus stop. They murdered him. This is why I say to all the people out there that tell me, "Oh, your dad is a CO and your husband's a CO and they're the best and they give their all." Yeah, they're easily bought off. And they're some of the most corrupt people I've ever seen in my life. You want to tell me your spouse or your dad or your cousin or your brother or whoever it is a CO, a correctional officer? I'm telling you right now, they're as corrupt as anybody that's in that prison, dude. They're just as bad as any inmate in that prison. They're just as guilty because it's easy to buy off a CO. It's real easy. I've done it with a couple packs of cigarettes, a couple packs of Newports, dude. That CO was in my pocket. I got written up 67 times in prison. Never saw a day in the hole. I was written up 67 times in prison. Never saw a day in the hole. It's easy to pay them dudes off. Real easy. I don't know. But female officer helped Johnston escape. Another female officer helped them other two dudes escape. Come on, man. We got the Whites, that inmate White and then the CO White. They escaped. You remember that female CO helping that dude and she died? She actually died. Yeah, it's easy to pay off the COs, dude. Real easy. You guys wouldn't understand how easy it is. It's just as easy paying off them COs as it is all these cops out here in the real world. These cops can be bought off real quick. I'm serious. They can be bought off real quick. And a lot of them are. So, here we go, guys. A little bit of history. So, till next time, take care, peace, and love. Stay out of trouble. Okay? Even though you can buy these COs and not have a day of worry in that prison, you don't want to do any of that, dude. Just stay out of prison. Stay out of jail, stay out of trouble. Do your thing, man. Just do your thing. Love one another. Took me a while to get that. It's a concept that was foreign to me. But now that I know it, it makes a whole lot more sense. Just love one another. You don't have to like what they do. You don't have to agree with what they do. But you shouldn't judge what they do. Because when we judge, that's when we get judged by the Almighty One. All right? Till next time. Take care, peace, and love. Shine through darkness.